G'day, ZiggyD here with some Path of Exile news. In today's news I'm going to be talking about the upcoming Descent races which are coming in Race Season 3, this weekend in fact. Now this was announced a couple of days ago with a few details on the PC Gamer website and it piqued my interest, but now that some more details have been announced I've decided to make a video on it to explain to you guys what this race is all about and why you should be super hyped for them, because I know I am. I'm actually probably more excited for these Descent races than I was for the announcement of Anarchy and Onslaught Leagues, and if you remember back to my announcement video, my news video back then, I was really excited for those, so I'm pretty damn excited for these. Basically, Descent races give you a completely alternate start and a completely alternate area progression, kind of with some roguelike elements thrown in there. So it's kind of, I get the sense overall that this is going to be more of a roguelike experience with the Path of Exile gameplay. So combining a roguelike with action RPG, that's pretty damn good in my books, because those are both games that I really like the gameplay elements of, and this is something I'm very excited to see. So basically, to give you an overall idea of how this race will work, there'll be 1 hour races, they'll be completely solo, and there's no towns whatsoever. So that means no vendors, no going back to refill your flasks, and nothing like that. There's also no instance management, so you can't just farm zones over and over again. Instead, you start off in this Frisian forest, and your objective then is to find an entrance to a dungeon, essentially. And that dungeon will have either 14 or 15 levels, I'm not sure if the Frisian forest is counted in that, and you progress through each one of those levels. Now, at the end of each one of those levels, just before the level exit, which you can enter at any time, as if you can rush straight to it, or you can completely farm out the prior zone before going down, you'll get a choice between 2 chests. Now, I believe these chests will probably give you an indication of kind of what's in either one of those, but at the moment we don't know anything about what's going to be in these chests, except they did announce what the first level chest will be. It'll be a choice between health flasks and quicksilver flasks and scrolls or something like that. So you'll have the choice between increased survivability or increased farming speed through those quicksilver flasks. So that's interesting. The choices will be like that. And all of your skill gems and gear and things that will be dished out through those chests will come down to a decision. So this means that the first couple of playthroughs of this are going to be completely unknown. Now, I'm pretty sure these will be well documented, because these chests are preset. They'll be well documented a couple races into the season, and maybe I'll bring out some videos on that showing you guys the different chest options and things like that. Well, depends on how I go, if I can make it to the 15th level or not. But there will be the option to kind of plan characters. Now, these will also be dealt out depending on the character class you choose as well. So if you choose a ranger, you're probably going to be getting choices between different ranger, bow skills and things like that. Whereas if you choose a marauder, you're probably not going to be able to make a blood magic bow marauder in this Descent race, because you simply won't have access to those skills other than from random drops from monsters. So in terms of the roguelike randomization of it, you have these different levels. I imagine the levels themselves will be randomized in some fashion, and also the drops that they give you, and the things you have to work through will be completely random. The only things that'll be set in stone will be those chests and the decision you have to make each one of those chests, which is pretty damn exciting. So basically, you try and progress as best you can, getting as much experience as you can through each of these 15 levels. And once you get to the 15th level, I believe there's a boss there which you can kill, and then if you've killed that by the end of the 1 hour, then that's pretty much it. The race then at that point becomes who has the most experience. So you're kind of going to have to balance progressing as quickly as possible, and I don't think, just for reference, I don't think anyone's going to be reaching level 15 in the first few races. It might be something we start to see towards the end of the season, but we'll see how that plays out. Pretty interesting in its own right. But you're going to have to be finding a balance between clearing through and getting to the deeper levels to try and get more experience, and also trying to maximize the experience you're getting in the earlier levels as well, so that you can progress, so you can survive. Now, Chris wrote in this post, which I'll link in the description below, a bunch of the reasons for the design of the Descent races, and one of those was like people wanted a steeper level progression so that you weren't skipping monsters as much, and it sounds like this is what you're going to be really getting. So throughout those only 15 levels essentially, you're going to be getting your normal, cruel, and merciless progression through each one of those. So it's going to be pretty full on, and something I'm incredibly excited for. Okay, so that just about covers the general basics of this Descent race, but there was a few other things I wanted to touch on because I find them pretty interesting. The first point is that these are hardcore races, and they're 1 hour races. So if you die, 40 minutes in, then that's it for that character. It can't progress anymore. However, unlike the other races, that character will still count towards prizes. So basically, if you get 40 or 50 minutes in and you've got a ton of experience and you've pushed so hard that you're ahead of most other people, and even though you die with still 10 minutes to spare or whatever, as long as other players don't cross over you, you still could potentially win that. Your character still counts in this sort of hall of fame for that race, which I think is pretty cool. And it kind of also suits the roguelike theme where, you're trying to compare your score at the end of each run to see, which character got further. So I like that. It seems like a pretty cool system for this sort of race. The next interesting point is that because there's no backtracking or repeating areas in the descent races, you can't, once you descend to level 2, you can't go back to level 1. You have to make an interesting choice between how much you farm in that previous level, how much time you spend in there, whether you hunt down the boss on that level, or whether you progress really quickly. And the devs have said that they're supporting this through giving you the choice of Quicksilver flasks early on if you want to skip zones. If you want to skip maybe the first few levels, if you think you can go to a more difficult level and farm there instead, it gives you an interesting choice. And whether that's also a viable strategy or not when it comes down to how much experience you have at the end. I feel like this is going to add a lot of extra strategy, and this will be something that gets worked out over the course of the season, since although this is randomized, the levels themselves will be randomized, and the enemies, and what they drop will be randomized. There's still this chest system, and there's still this overall strategy that can be employed, and we'll be able to see what becomes the best strategies out of that. And that's something I'm also very, very excited for. And then the final thing I wanted to note was that a little bit differently to prior seasons, the Demigod's Stride will be the new reward for this system. So we've moved, from the crown to the necklace to the crown, and now we're going to the Demigod's Boots. And instead of giving these out quite as frequently as they have in the past, they're going to be a bit more sparing with this. And it sounds like, from the wording at the end of this post, that essentially the top 3 characters for each class that have participated in Descent throughout the league will get the Demigod's Stride items. So they'll probably be given out in other sorts of races, but also the top 3 essentially Descent race characters for each class will be getting these Demigod's Strides. So that's pretty cool. So you have you're not only trying to best other people, you're trying to best your own score as well, and trying to get one of each class if you can to the top to try and get as many chances as you can to get those Demigod's Strides, and that's pretty cool. Now there's a bit of other information in there, and most importantly, if you're really interested in the design reasoning behind this sort of race, then I recommend going and checking out that post, because it's a pretty interesting read overall. Now I'm very excited to play this. It comes up this weekend, so I may be able to bring you guys some videos on it. I'll certainly give it a shot, and I'll give a shot recording my first attempts at Descent races, and I'll bring those to you guys. And maybe if I can work out some cool strategies myself, I'll also make some videos for those, because I think if you've never really done the race system before, because and I can fully understand that, because I feel like in its current design, the race system is not something that will interest everyone, but I think these Descent races have a lot of potential to interest a lot of different people, and it's going to be something completely different from the normal game. So this is something at the moment you're not going to be able to experience outside of races, so I highly recommend jumping on and trying these out when they come through. But maybe you guys can check out some of the content that comes out around then. Anyway, I think that's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.